Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into a super interesting topic, how Vietnam's history still affects Cambodia. These two countries have been neighbors for centuries, and their past is full of battles, takeovers, and teamwork that still shapes life today. Want to know more? Keep watching. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, give it a like, subscribe, and stick around till the end for some final thoughts. Cambodia and Vietnam go way back, over 1,000 years. Back in the day, from the 9th to 15th centuries, Cambodia had a massive empire called the Camair Empire. It was a big deal, controlling parts of what's now Vietnam like the Mekong Delta. But as the Khmer Empire started to weaken, Vietnam grew stronger. By the 17th and 18th centuries, Vietnam took over the Mekong Delta, and Cambodians still feel sore about losing that land. During the Camair Empire, there were plenty of fights with Vietnamese kingdoms. For example, the Cham people who lived in central Vietnam were often battling the Khmer. There were also wars with Dai Viet, a Vietnamese state, in the 12th and 13th centuries. These clashes weren't just about land, they were about power and pride, setting up a rivalry that's echoed through history. Then, in the 1800s, France showed up and took over both places, calling it French Indochina. They split Vietnam into three parts: Tonkin, Annam, and Cochinchina, while Cambodia was a separate protectorate. The French liked using Vietnamese people to run things in Cambodia, like government jobs or businesses. This annoyed Cambodians a lot. They felt pushed aside in their own country. That resentment stuck around, making Cambodians suspicious of Vietnam even after the French left in the 1950s. After independence, things got messier with the Vietnam War in the 1960s and 70s. North Vietnamese fighters used eastern Cambodia to move supplies along the Ho Chi Minh Trail to fight in South Vietnam. The US didn't like that, so they bombed Cambodia to stop it. Those bombs killed tons of civilians, wrecked villages, and made the country unstable. That chaos helped a group called the Khmer Rouge take over later. The Khmer Rouge and Vietnam's big move. In 1975, the Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, seized Cambodia. They were extreme communists who wanted everyone to live on farms and forget modern life. They banned schools, cities, and even killed people for wearing glasses, thinking it meant they were too smart. In just 4 years, they killed nearly 2 million people, about a quarter of Cambodia's population. At first, North Vietnam was their buddy, but Pol Pot got paranoid and started attacking Vietnam, worried they'd take over. Vietnam had enough. In December 1978, they invaded Cambodia to stop the Khmer Rouge and end the madness. In just 2 weeks, they captured the capital, Phnom Penh, and kicked Pol Pot out. Vietnam then set up a new government with Cambodians who hated the Khmer Rouge, but it was obvious Vietnam was pulling the strings. For 10 years, Vietnam stayed in charge. Things improved a bit, schools reopened, and the killing stopped. But many Cambodians weren't happy. They remembered losing land to Vietnam centuries ago and saw this as more control. Some thanked Vietnam for stopping the Khmer Rouge, but others called it an invasion. The world had mixed feelings too. Western countries like the US said Vietnam was wrong to invade, calling it aggression, but the Soviet Union and India backed Vietnam, saying the Khmer Rouge were worse. This split made Cambodia's situation trickier on the global stage. How this history affects Cambodia today. So how does all this old stuff matter now? Here are 5 big ways Vietnam's history still haunts Cambodia. 1. Bad feelings about Vietnam. Lots of Cambodians don't trust Vietnam because of the past. Losing the Mekong Delta long ago and Vietnam's 10-year takeover in the 1980s left scars. Politicians in Cambodia use this to win votes, saying the government's too cozy with Vietnam. People still call the leaders puppets, which keeps old grudges alive. There are also Vietnamese immigrants in Cambodia today. Some Cambodians think they're taking jobs or land, leading to protests and even violence. The government doesn't do much, making people think it's secretly siding with Vietnam. This distrust is a huge issue. 2. Fights over the border. Cambodia and Vietnam share a 137-kilometer border, but it's fuzzy in places. They argue over who owns what, and it can get heated. For Cambodians, it feels like Vietnam's trying to grab more land, just like centuries ago. These disputes pop up during elections or when politicians want to rally people. In 2015, for example, Cambodians protested over claims Vietnam was sneaking onto their land. It's a touchy subject that won't go away. 3. Vietnam's influence on politics. Cambodia's longtime leader Hun Sen was part of the government Vietnam set up in the 1980s. He ruled for decades and kept close ties with Vietnam. His son Hun Manet took over in 2023 and still has those connections. Some Cambodians hate this. They think their leaders care more about Vietnam than them. Recently, Hun Manet ditched a project with Vietnam and Laos, maybe to prove he's independent, but the link's still strong. Vietnam also trains many Cambodian military officers, and the two countries have tight defense ties. This makes some worry Cambodia leans too much on Vietnam for security. 4. Mixed feelings about the Khmer Rouge. The Khmer Rouge years were horrific, and Vietnam ended it. That's a plus, right? Not everyone thinks so. Some are grateful, but others say Vietnam just wanted power. The government celebrates January 7th, when Vietnam arrived, as Liberation Day, but some call it Invasion Day. Older folks who lived through it feel this split the most, and it still shapes how Cambodians see their past. 5. Money and trade. Vietnam and Cambodia trade a lot. Vietnam sells goods to Cambodia and has companies there, which helps the economy. But some Cambodians feel Vietnam benefits more. They worry Cambodia depends too much on Vietnam, like it's a repeat of being controlled. Vietnamese firms invest in stuff like farming and energy, which is great for jobs, but gives Vietnam a big say in Cambodia's money matters. Cultural influences. Vietnam and Cambodia's shared heritage. History isn't just about fights, it's about culture too. Vietnam and Cambodia have swapped ideas for ages. Vietnamese food like banh xeo, crispy pancakes, has inspired Cambodian dishes. Fish sauce, a big deal in both places, shows how their kitchens overlap. Music and dance are similar too. Both have traditional performances with flowing moves and bright costumes. Buddhism ties them together as well. Most people in both countries follow it, sharing temples and beliefs. But it's not all rosy. In border areas with lots of Vietnamese people, some Cambodians feel their culture's getting drowned out. It's another layer to their tricky relationship. What's next for Cambodia and Vietnam? So what's next for Cambodia and Vietnam? Well, they've got some work ahead, but it's totally doable. One huge step is sorting out their border once and for all. They've been at it for years, and it's messy because some spots are still up for debate. Take 2019, for instance. They signed a treaty to clear up parts of the border, but not everyone was thrilled. If they can hammer out the rest and draw a line both sides like, it'll cut down on the fighting and help people feel safer. Next up, Cambodia's leaders need to tune into what their people are saying. You can't scroll through social media without seeing gripes about Vietnamese influence. Sometimes it even sparks protests. The government could hold town halls or send out surveys to really get it, then step up with stuff like job creation or supporting local businesses to ease those worries. And then there's the kids. Schools in both countries could teach the shared history in a way that's straight up and fair. How cool would it be if they had exchange programs or teamed up on history projects? If young people get the past and make friends across the border, they might not hold on to old grudges. Even with their rough history, Cambodia and Vietnam can totally build something better. They're neighbors, right? Teaming up on trade, tourism, or even saving the environment could make both places stronger. It's a tough road, but worth a shot. From the ancient Camair Empire to the Vietnam War and the Khmer Rouge era, the history between Vietnam and Cambodia is complex and often tumultuous. These events have left deep scars and continue to influence the relationship between the two countries. Today, border disputes, political influence, and economic ties are just a few of the issues that reflect this historical baggage. However, there is also potential for cooperation and mutual benefit. By addressing these issues and fostering better understanding, Cambodia and Vietnam can build a stronger, more peaceful relationship. It's up to the leaders and people of both countries to learn from the past and work towards a brighter future. If you found this exploration of Cambodia and Vietnam's shared history interesting, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement helps us continue to bring you content like this. Thank you for watching.